considering the dynamics of the profession, don't you think it is an interesting part of the journey to be associated with crafts and artisans in the process of design?
Very, very important role to get associated with different crafts and craftsmen who are working with different materials, which really eventually gives facility to design your solutions custom made to suit client's requirement and design demands.
Yeah, I think as professionals, it is important to give this recognition in the practice itself that the local artisans or the craftsmen and the skills what they possess could always be translated or kind of used more creatively, or rather in a more impactful way in a larger context than in what currently probably that craftsman could be doing. So maybe he could be creating a small little, a small little functional product, but probably as designers, we may kind of expand that thought and see how this skill could be used in a larger context in a project.
I think you mean to say to have a larger significance to their craft skills, which we can take as a evolutionary step.
Maybe
forward.
yes, maybe
because
yes.
Like let's say potters are making pots on the wheel, and their palette of products will be restricted and limited, and we can use their product as it is, or use their material and skill to design a chandelier maybe, or design light system or hardware or a number of things.
Yeah, absolutely. There are two aspects to it, I think. One is the material with which they are comfortable, and other is the skill what they possess. I think as designers, giving recognition to both the dynamics of this crafts world will help a lot in integrating crafts in the design process.
So eventually, by contributing as a designer to go a little innovative from the aspect of usage and the skills, eventually will evolve us also as a designer, as an architect. I think if we use their material and skills.
Interestingly, you mentioned about lighting systems, Vivek, in the conversation right now. I think it makes me think in a direction that it's not only the products which probably are to be looked at from a utilitarian aspect or how to fit that into a design, but it's the skill and how we as designers can actually marry our creative ability with their skill and their familiarity with the material.
Their understanding with the material, what is the limitations and to what extent we can go. So in conversation with the artisans, there are immense possibilities to enhance our interior as well as exterior spaces, meaning like using their craft work just as a decoration. We can take it furthermore to evolve and build on a common theme where splashes of their skill with the material could be shown.
Correct.
on furniture, on as a light system, or as a hardware.
Yeah. But I may want to say as a word of caution that this requires perseverance and an element of passion into it, because working with a craftsman and trying to get him adjust into a domain which may not be his comfort zone is a challenge as designers.
Even client side also, he also should have patience enough, because nowadays it's a fast pace of life. Everybody wants the project to be done yesterday. So in that scenario, yes, but like you can try and find out niche people who really give value to such spaces created, customized and bespokely designed for the clients. I think.
This reminds me of an interesting work we did for an international brand retailing company on how there was a point where it had to be very glamour oriented, and we can probably use one of the best of chandeliers designed with crystals and all those things. But there was a point at which we contemplated how we can bring in some earthy elements, and you said that let's use some crafts which are locally done. Why don't we share some thoughts on that?
I think I'm sure you're talking about the work which we did with a potter friend. His name is Rajesh Kulkarni.
Yes.
And, he is in Indapur, some part of Maharashtra, and we worked, and it was the first project I think we did, and we used pottery and its material to design light systems and chandeliers for this showroom of a piano, exclusive piano salon.
Yes.
Yeah, I think, and I remember how many times, because this was just first interaction, and the usage and the type of work was different than mainstream, and how many number of times I had to visit him and get it done. Uh, I may show like this is. I think this is the shape. You remember we had
Yes, evolved from the whole concept of sound itself, that how more like a horn shaped depicts the sound.
sound, yes. And eventually, I remember very vividly that while experimenting, we just were trying to put bulb inside and trying to see how this looks. And accidentally, we tried another piece here, and which changed the whole game
Dynamic.
because of the reflection of light from this surface to the surface of the larger pot like this, and it was wonderful, as you can see result. And one more example, Sachin, I remember we used this guy who makes flowers out of seashells.
Oh, absolutely.
Do you remember which we used for our own office, and I may show, Sachin, I think you remember this is the flower we used. This flower in a chandelier and different light system for our office also.
Yeah.
So I think it's an important, beautiful journey. It takes a little more effort initially once you do one project. And I remember we did multiple projects with Rajesh, and it was a beautiful thing.
Journey.
And with less time and effort, we could do beautiful.
I remember the joy and the elation on the face of this craftsman
Yes.
when he could realize that how his small product, which he felt could be used only in a certain point, completely changed. Oh, I never knew this could be used this way,
Very
So it was such a joy for him, and with so much pleasure, he started making many more. He came and said that what else we can do. That's an excellent
Yeah, I
experience.
remember, like he made me thinking, like some people will have this flower just put in a flower vase in some interior aspect, but looking at the chandelier, he was really, really pleased.
Absolutely. In essence, I think it's important, Vivek, that as architects, we need to recognize this need of engaging with various aspects of design profession. So it could be craftsmen, it could be product designers, and we as architects also being designers, and how we could kind of collaboratively work to create good spaces and create a nice and vibrant feel in an internal space.
Yeah, I think absolutely, Sachin. This makes me feel that there should be a common platform, and architects should be open enough to have this platform to be used for all different people to come together and create a beautiful, let's say, interior or piece of chandelier or artifacts. Because I can mention, like while doing this chandelier for Yama, I remember so many things. Like as a craftsman, Rajesh used to give his input. As an architect, I used to give my, but there was a void of a product designer. Like when it comes to assembly of a product, we were a little struggling, and I think that's not our strength and forte.
Very true.
So we should open enough to roping the experts on same platform, depending on the product and depending on the need. Like.
So I see this parallel of as building construction professionals and architects, we kind of engage consultants on the various aspects. Can be an electrical consultant, HVAC consultant. But I think also the design front, we need to be open enough to get these people, think of them as probably consultants or collaborators in the design process.
I think one more important aspect I would mention here, there always had been little bit ego clash between civil engineer and architect. It's high time we should break all the superiority and inferiority amongst whatever people are working, like craftsmen, designers, like product designers, civil engineers who design structures, and as architects also. We come together to create a beautiful thing that should be a common platform. I think it's high time we have to come out and be open to such things.